Hey Queen, welcome back to Flip the Script, a podcast for spirit-led women entrepreneurs that are the rule breakers, black sheep, and visionaries who are ready to be the director of their own lives. So, the purpose of this podcast is to plant seeds of abundance, activate you, and help you shift into your highest timeline. The only thing that you need to do is be willing and decide right here and right now that you are ready to activate your purpose and live a life that turns you on. I'm your host, Angie, and I am your money mindset and business coach. And I'm here to have deep conversations with you, the real talk, and remind you of your God given gifts so that you can build a conscious business and life that is rich and purposeful. So, in today's episode, it's all about not quitting in the chaos and how to navigate those tower moments as an entrepreneur that aren't spoken about a lot of the times. And so, I'm here to remind you that you're not alone. So, let's get started with the episode. So, if lately you've been feeling, uncertain on how things are unfolding in your life and in your business, I want you to just take a moment to to breathe. One more breath. Hold it at the top and then slowly let it go. Just let that tension, you can just feel the tension releasing. And I just want you to know that it is okay if this is how you've been feeling lately. Having these moments when everything feels like it's crumbling or things are just stagnant and not quite, it doesn't quite feel like things are moving forward. In fact, it feels like quite the opposite, that things are moving backward. And I want you to know that when you're feeling or experiencing these things, that it's normal. It's absolutely normal. And with social media and everything, it's a double-edged sword, right? It can be sometimes motivational and inspiring to get you like going and starting the thing, or it could do the complete opposite. And it can be easy to get caught up, by social media's highlight reels, right? Of everyone posting that they're either hitting, these 20K, 30K, 50K months in their business, attracting an overflow of clients from just one single post that did it all for them, and all these people having like overnight success, right? And you can look at it two different ways. Obviously, you can look at it as like, oh wow, like I see this and this is showing me the possibilities that are out there. And that's a great positive way to look at that, right? But sometimes when we're already feeling not in the best of moods and we constantly are seeing other people succeeding, it can make you feel like, like what am I doing wrong? You start to compare yourself. Not that you mean to, but it just starts to happen because it's just kind of like that's all you're seeing. And if you are hitting any type of roadblocks or challenges in your life, it can make you feel like, why haven't I had my moment? Why aren't people buying from me? Or why am I experiencing the total opposite? Like I must be doing something wrong. Am I even meant for this? Like people are appearing to have things, these type of successes happen so easily, yet for me it's like I have life happening and I'm not sure why I'm not getting these results, and they happen to be getting these results and being able to handle things just fine, even with having kids or whatever other situations they may have had. And you can start to fall into this negative loop, right? You get caught up in it and it's not your fault, but it's about bringing yourself back to ground yourself and to have a level of awareness of where your mind is going. Because trust me, I get the feeling, because I was in this negative loop, these past 2 weeks, to be honest. There's a lot of things, a lot of changes happening into my life right now, being in my third trimester, which is freaking crazy. I literally cannot believe that I'm in my third trimester. Like, it was funny because at work I had mentioned it, and then somebody was like, "Wow, so in 10 weeks you're gonna pop," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it like that. Like, oh my goodness, like that's like literally around the corner." And like I freaked out for a moment. For a moment, I was like, "This is happening so fast," you know. So I have that going on, and then even just the whole preparation process of a baby coming into this world in the next few weeks, you know, like is also a lot. It's a lot, you know, it's things that aren't really like discussed. Like obviously having a kid um, is takes a lot of time and this and that, but the in between, you know, like all the pretty stuff that people show on social media, but the like the behind the scenes that no one really talks about when it comes to having a kid, like the insurances, what's covered, what's not covered, how to choose the right hospitals, how to choose the right pediatricians, like a list of things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's a lot. And on top of like also learning, watching birthing videos and learning how to feed a baby and like, you know, especially as a first time mom, like it's a lot of information. And so, you know, I like it's no wonder I fell into this negative loop, like, you know, because I was juggling that, navigating some other like adulting things in my life, figuring out my job situation, and then also navigating the direction of my business. So there was just a lot going on. And, you know, and I was having moments, you know, obviously my hormones as well, but I'm not even going to blame it on the hormones because it is a lot that's just changing all at once in a short period of time. And I was having moments in between my calls where I just had to like cry it out. Like I just had to let it out because I was just feeling the pressure and I was feeling like the deadlines that I had for certain things, and just big decisions that I have to make like now, right? And just old stuff also getting triggered by old things that have been resurfacing. And so, you know, this is real life. And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to the entrepreneurial journey, the real life part is not really discussed. There's like so much focus on the end result, like the money and the clients. But what about in between all that? What about the nights where you're just like, man, like nothing seems to be flowing. Nothing seems to be like quite hitting. Like I'm not getting anything from this right now. Um, you know, is it worth it anymore? Like no one really talks about that hard part, like the void where things just seem just silent, you know, like that feeling of like, you know, you're praying to God and you're asking for these things in your life to come into your life, and you're like, does God even hear my prayers, right? And it's like having that feeling in your business as well, because you know how you navigate that, those moments makes all the difference on how things start to unfold and start to click in your life and business. And that's why I wanted to just share that, because I like to share that like I'm a real person behind the screen, you know. I have other things going on in my life, and sometimes people can be quick to judge just because what you post on social media, you're not talking about all your challenges and obstacles and problems. They think that you have everything, you have it all together, right? And it's like, not that you have to share those personal things all the time, but it's nice to feel like, you know, not alone, that obstacles do happen, challenges are going to come up no matter what level you are at in a business. Different levels, you're going to go through different challenges, and it's about normalizing that versus hyper focusing on just like the results, right? And the thing is, like when people start to encounter those things, because it's not really discussed that much, when chaos starts to unravel, when it feels like I said, like everything is just like falling apart and you're like, what the heck is happening here? That's when most people end up quitting because they feel so alone. Most people say, like, I can't, this is just too hard. Um, and most people stop right when the blessing is around the corner. And I know that it's obviously easier said than done at times. Like it is easier said than done. But know this, that when you push through those moments, it is so rewarding. It is so rewarding. And I know this and I say this because I literally have experienced this multiple times in my life, going through a bankruptcy, going through a miscarriage, going through um, people not finishing the programs that they purchased from me and like walking away and disappearing and not getting paid in full for the services that I provided. Like when you push through those moments, you start to realize like what a blessing that moment was, right? And you realize that you can overcome tough things, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that then you start to realize like those pieces, that those moments that happen, those experiences that happen, molded you to become the best version of yourself. It pushed you, it put you in this pressure cooker to do something about it, and to say to yourself, enough is enough. And you know, when people quit in those moments, they miss out. They miss out on living their heaven on earth, their version of heaven on earth, because they quit too soon. Instead of just trusting the process, leaning on faith, and just understanding that this is a part of the human soul journey here on earth. Like these moments of hardships, these moments of intense pressure that you're just like, I don't know where else to turn. Like I feel like I'm just gonna, those moments of walking through the fire is not to punish you. I can sometimes feel that way because we want things now. We want things to happen now. We want things to happen the way that we said it should happen. But you have to understand there's also a greater power that is orchestrating all of this as well. And that in those type of moments, it's not to punish you, but it's to refine you. There's something that you're supposed to extract from those moments, and that's why that those moments have happened, right? The setback is actually the setup for something so much greater. And when you're in the midst of it, obviously you don't see it because you're just kind of like, why me? But if you could start to realize when those moments, those intense moments are happening, that something is being refined in you. Because what you are praying for, right? Whatever you are praying for, whatever you're asking for, whatever it is that you desire in your heart, right? To be the life that you want to live, it requires you to refine something in order to get to that point. And I feel like that is not discussed enough. That, it's not just like the growth in your business, the growth in your life, to live the life of your dreams is not just this like linear thing that just happens. There are moments that you're going to have that is going to dip because there's something that you need to learn in order to be able to even have the capacity to hold the blessing that it is that you desire in your heart. So sometimes what happens is that you got to replace the human lens, right? Because our human lens see things in the 3D reality. We're only using our main senses, our sight, our taste, our smell. Like whatever you see is what you believe, but it's actually, this is where you have to then put on your spiritual lens, walk with faith, not by sight, right? To start to see the truth of the actual moment, that there's more to what you are currently seeing right now. And so for something new to come, it has to clear, it has to remove, it has to purge what no longer aligns with this next level that you are asking for, that you desire. And again, that's where most people end up quitting because they're not willing to let go. And you got to understand there was this, I forget who the quote is by, but it's, but basically it says, um, what you're holding on to is what's holding you back, right? And the moment that you let go, things just start to change. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I wish I would have done that sooner, you know, and I get it. It's not always easy because sometimes it requires removing people from your life. Sometimes it requires stepping away from a relationship. Sometimes it requires from stepping away from a job that no longer serves you. Sometimes it requires you to change your whole entire program or whatever it is that you have going on in your entrepreneurial journey. You know, there's certain things in your life that you have to declutter and cleanse to make space for that new blessing to come in. And this means that it can feel very confronting, those moments, because you have to, guess what, face yourself, and you have to, guess what, get real and honest if you want to truly move to that next level. So when you're in this process of bringing forth something great in your life, something that's out of the norm, something that's out of the familiar, something that's out of your comfort zone, this is when you need to realize how your brain works and how it's like analyzing the situation, right? Because a lot of times what ends up happening is that our brain freaks out. It freaks out during these chaotic moments, these moments of uncertainty and challenges, because you have to understand that our brain is hardwired for survival. So it interprets unpredictable situations as a threat. Like, this is a potential threat. And so what ends up happening is that once your brain detects this, it triggers a series of chemical and cognitive responses that are designed to ensure safety, even when there's no actual physical danger. So our brain kind of like is still acting in the caveman days of where it has to be alert for any predators out there that are going to eat them, right? And so this is when you not only feel things oh my gosh, can I say this word? Physiologically. Let's say it again. This is when you not only feel things physiologically, there you go, but this is when your brain launches you into a negative loop of worst case scenario, of over analyzing, of the inner critic getting louder and louder. And you'll notice this if you start to become, as you become more aware of this happening, you'll notice these specific moments of like, wow, I'm really going down this loop of what if this happens? What if that happens? What if that? What if da, 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 right? Or like your brain just starts to go overboard with overthinking, or you start to hear the inner critic saying, "Ah, you see, I told you you shouldn't have done that thing. Of course you're gonna fail. Of course that didn't work." Like, start to get louder and louder and louder, and just as you start to, if you allow it to continue. This is why having this awareness is crucial, because this is when the old version of you is trying to pull you back. It's like, I don't want to step outside my comfort zone. I want to stay right here. Because even though me being in my comfort zone creates pain in my life, at least I know what to expect. But if I step out there, I don't know what to expect. If we cross that line, like I don't know. I don't feel safe. And so it tries to pull you back with all this negative thoughts coming to your mind. But when that starts to happen, that's when, if you have the awareness, that's when you'll realize that it's actually proof of you leveling the fuck up, that something great is about to happen in your life. So you have to what? Lock in. Lock in, hold the vision that you have for yourself and keep moving forward one step at a time. And something that I've learned is that when I'm going through these moments of like intense pressure, intense, and I've been through many moments of that in my 34 years of living, um, is that when there's a lot just happening in your life from all different aspects, right? All different angles. That's when you just have to breathe and take it one day at a time. One day at a time. Because if you start to like think too much into the future, it gets really hard. It gets really hard to really think that far out, and you start to get right back into that negative loop. So what I've learned is like you just have to stay focused on one day at a time. One day at a time. So when you catch yourself in these downward spirals, now that you know what they look like, right? Thinking about worst case scenarios, over analyzing, the inner critic getting loud, saying, don't do that, you can't do it, you're gonna fail, whatever it is that you constantly say to yourself, you'll hear it. It's a constant thing that keeps popping up. So when you catch yourself in these downward spiral moments, right? There are three things that you can do to help flip the script. No pun intended. Because the thing to remember is this is that these downward spiral moments are not necessarily a bad thing. It is a part of life. You can't run from it. No matter how much money you're making, no matter how much of a loving relationship you're in, no matter how close your relationship with God is, like it's just a part of the human experience, to experience a spectrum of emotions, right? But the more that you practice how to regulate yourself, how to surrender, and not allow your circumstances to define you, it gets easier over time to pivot, to adapt, and to navigate those moments. It really does. Like who I was 10 years ago handling something like this, oh my God, I would be in a completely different headspace. But over time, I have learned how to regulate myself, how to trust in the process, how to have faith, how to surrender in the sense of I don't have to do this alone. With God, I can do anything. With God, God is what makes the impossible possible. But I've learned that over time. And so now when I encounter these moments, like I'm able to shift myself a lot faster. I'm not spending weeks on end in this, negative loop. Sometimes months. There would be times I remember back in the day, when I would go through some intense moments that I would just kind of like disappear completely from the internet. And then I'm wondering why nobody is buying, right? Because I'm not showing up anymore, because I've allowed my external world to define me. And it would get to me, it would really drag me down. And so it took me a long time to drag myself back out and be like, no, this is not the life that I want to live. This is the life that I want to live. I have to take different action to get there. So here are the three things that I do, that I have done, that has helped me flip the script. So number one, I actually share this on my TikTok and my Instagram if you saw it, but it's called the Rich Queen Moves um, daily planner. So right now it's not a planner, um, but I write it out on a piece of paper. And basically, so if you're watching me on YouTube or even Spotify, you should be able to see this as well. The video version of this podcast. You'll see that I have different, let me see, one, two, three, four, five, six different sections on here. The first section says, who am I today? The second section says, thank you, God. The third section says, business money moves. Fourth, personal life moves, self care. And then number six, quote affirmation, Psalms and Proverbs. So basically, what this does, like I said, it's a daily practice when it comes to becoming a master of your mind, right? This sets the tone for the day. Honestly, this only takes like 5 to 10 minutes to do, and it's a game changer. It really does. I've noticed like when I don't do it, I get caught up in my own head sometimes. And but when I come back to getting into a routine of doing it, I notice how much my day changes and how much um, just the way that I respond to life changes, because we start out this thing with who am I today? Who am I choosing to be today? Who am I choosing to show up as today? As my lower self or my higher self? What is this version of the main character energy, right? So that's me starting my day with claiming that this is how I'm showing up. And once you decide that this is how you're showing up, the actions that you take throughout the day is going to start to reflect that. But when you don't decide on who you're going to show up as, and you just allow social media, the news, your environment to dictate that for you, that's when you start to encounter these roadblocks. That's when you start to encounter the negative thoughts, right? But when you remember, like, no, that's not who I am. I'm chosen for greatness today. Today I win. When you start to claim that for yourself and speak that over your own life, it changes the game. It really does. I know sometimes it can sound so simple, but a lot of times it's the simple things. It's coming back to the basics that really are the things that are gonna shift things in your life. And then we shift into gratitude. Having gratitude is so powerful. Being able to appreciate the things that you do have in your life, and it puts you in this vibration of like abundance and joy, and you know you're in a more happier mood when you're grateful for things in your life. Even when things may be falling apart, there's always something that you can be grateful for. And it's also a moment to, again, speak things into existence into your life. So just writing 5 things that you're thanking God for is so powerful, right? Because that's also you walking by faith and not by sight, because you're claiming it. Thank you, God, for you know these amazing clients that have paid me in full for my services. Thank you, God, for you know the miracles that happen in my life on a day-to-day basis. Thank you, God, for leading me and guiding me today. Thank you, God. So, and the list goes on. Whatever, if you feel called to write in those things, and there's no right or wrong, it could be short. Thank you, God, for helping me breathe today, for waking up another day, for my eyesight, for my heartbeat. Like, it could be simple. It doesn't have to be this complex thing either. And then we go into the moves that you're making in your life, right? Your business money moves, and then your personal life moves. The business money moves is all about focus. Focus, focus, focus. Too many times we get distracted by social media, doom scrolling, not taking the proper action to move the needle forward in our business. So it's about asking yourself, How can I move the needle forward today? Not tomorrow, not the next day, not the next week. No, this is about, that's why this is a daily planner. It's daily. What do I need to do today to move the needle forward? And again, it doesn't have to be something like so complex. As humans, we complicate things when it doesn't need to be that complicated. That's why I said, like, when you feel like there's just a lot going on and unraveling in your life, so taking it one day at a time. And this is what helps you take it one day at a time and just focus. That even if you only work on your business for 30 minutes, even 15 minutes, even 10 minutes a day, it makes a difference, because it's better to work on it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes than not working on it at all, right? Because then you're definitely not moving the needle forward when that's just you, like, not taking any action towards it. So don't expect to get any results. So that's what's going to help you stay focused on tasks that actually are moving the needle forward to that next step. Okay. And you will notice that when you start to write these things down, that you start to realize, like, there's something that you're supposed, we know what to do. Let me just remind you, like, we know what we must do, but we avoid it because of some fear or limitation that comes up. But this is where you remind yourself, who am I today? Who am I showing up as today? And that's going to help you take the actions that you need in your business, because everything adds up to the bigger picture. Always remember that everything adds up, even in the slowness of life, even in the void, even when you feel like no one is hearing you at all, things are still adding up. Personal life moves. Basically, what that section is all about is anything that's living rent free in your mind. So when you have a cluttered mind, this is when the negative thoughts can get loud. But when you brain dump, this is you pretty much like brain dumping on here. When you start to brain dump, it helps clear your mind, and you can breathe. You have some clarity. And so this is where you want to write anything important in your life, the adulting stuff, you know, not necessarily things that you want to do, but that you must do because you have to take care of it because you're an adult and there's things that you have to take care of in the 3D world. So whatever those things are, that's where you would write it for that day. It's not about writing 20 tasks. No, it's about staying focused. What are the three main tasks that must get done or started today to help move the needle forward for the adulting stuff, the personal life stuff, right? Then we come down to self care. So, with self care, the reason why I added that there is because, at least for me as a Capricorn, we can be very much go getters and high achievers, and we don't stop. And so it's important to also take time to pour back into yourself, to whether that means taking a nap, whether that means taking a 10, 15, 30-minute walk, stretching, moving, whatever whatever makes you feel good, right? Maybe baking makes you feel super happy and like filled with joy, then take time to do that. Like, do something every single day that where you're pouring back into yourself in some way. Because trust me, when you don't do that, it also adds up, and then you start to build resentment. Then that's when you start to self-sabotage because you're not pouring back into yourself. So you're taking action from an empty vessel, right? So it's so important to pour back into yourself, and it can even be like meditation, even just talking to a loved one or a friend that hypes you up and empowers you and supports you, can go a long way. And then the last part is quotes, affirmations, songs, or proverbs. And this is just a space that you can use to, like, if there's something that captures your attention, a saying, a phrase, or something of scripture that really like speaks to your heart, and you want to embody it that day or you want to embody it that week, I suggest writing it down. Writing it down so that way it's a daily reminder for you, like, to always look back at. Because again, this is what is going to literally set the tone for the day. It really does make such a huge difference. And it has helped me accomplish so many things that I never thought that I had the time for. And some way, somehow, by doing that and reminding myself, who am I showing up as today, allows me to take the proper action. So that was just number one. I know that was a little bit of a lengthy one, but I really wanted to explain that. If you do want to get a PDF version of this where it's already done for you and it looks much nicer than this, then just DM me the word Rich Queen Moves, and then I'll send you the PDF version. So that way you can print it out for yourself. I do plan on making a planner for it. So I'll keep you in the loop on that as well. And then the second thing here that I do that's really big in flipping the script and shifting myself from a negative mindset to a positive one, or at least into a neutral state, right? It doesn't mean that you have to always be like super high vibe and like peace, love, and everything like that. Sometimes just coming back to a neutral state is what you need in the moment. And so for me, that is movement. Again, that could be exercise, walking, stretching. For me, strength training is a big part of my life. I mean, I literally go to the gym at least 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week, lifting weights. Obviously, right now I'm pregnant, so I'm not there lifting very heavy. I miss it. I can't wait to lift heavy again. I'm in a phase of just maintenance, just making sure that I take care of my body and that I'm continuing to move because it definitely helps me a lot. But this is like literally my therapy. It has always been with everything that I've gone through in my life, where most people would just crumble, go into full blown depression and like not come out of it. um, Movement has played a massive role in helping me navigate and regulate myself. Sometimes when I just don't know where to turn or what my next steps should be, or I just feel like just overwhelmed. Exercising is a game changer for me. And then something to be mindful about, like usually when I'm working out, I don't really play too much music. I actually play a lot more audios. So like very, like positive, uplifting audios from like Napoleon Hill, Neville Goddard, Tony Robbins, just different people that like inspire me, that like spark something in me. I'll listen to while working out, not necessarily like listening to every single word, but it's there, like, filling up my mind with something positive. And then the last thing that I do is a belief audit. So basically, a belief audit is when you take the time and when you take the time to just challenge the beliefs that you have. Is this empowering me or is this disempowering me? Is this actually the full truth? Because a lot of times when when chaos is happening, we can get caught up in it and we can lose ourselves. And it's important to come back and ask ourselves, like, is this an empowering thought that I'm having about this moment, or is it disempowering? And when you start to challenge your own beliefs, this is where you regain your power, because what you believe in your life is what's going to manifest around you. You know, if you think that you're always surrounded by unsupportive people, or that people don't like you, or um, that nothing ever works out for you, like that's, you're literally, because you believe that, that is what you're going to see in your reality. That those are the experiences that you're going to attract in your reality. And so when you're noticing these tower moments in your life, because they're gonna happen, you gotta understand, like, life is cyclical, right? It's a cycle. It goes in seasons. There's a season of like, you know, of reaping, and then there's a season of sowing. And so you got to understand that there's going to be ebbs and flows in your life. So there's going to be moments where the tower moments are very necessary for you to get to that next level. It is literally necessary for the breakthrough to happen, right? It's just like giving birth. Like, giving birth requires surrendering, requires trusting in the process, requires trusting in yourself, and knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? No pun intended, but like, even giving birth is just like that. And so when you see those tower moments, don't fear it. Don't get scared that, oh, things are never going to get better, because things always end up getting better. You have to know that, you have to believe that, but only you can shift your own beliefs. Like, you know, no one can do it for you. You have to decide that for yourself. So, and asking yourself, like, okay, this belief that I have, you know, that no one wants to buy from me or whatever, is that actually true? And when you start to really ask yourself those questions and reflect, and I suggest having like a journal. I have so many journals where I always take the time to reflect and challenge those negative beliefs that I feel like are not helping me grow. I was like, okay, well, how can I change that into something that's going to feel way more empowering, right? And that's when you can see how things start to move in your life. And know that when it comes to the entrepreneurial journey, or even just life in general, like, there is, it's like, there is no moment that is the perfect moment. Like, because life is just going to continue happening, life is just going to continue flowing, but it's up to you to make those decisions to move forward, and to not quit in the chaos, because the breakdown is literally the bridge for your next big breakthrough. And so in those moments, when the tower moments come into your life, get excited, get curious, and allow yourself to let go and let God be God. Because if you're listening to this today, I'm telling you that there's something greater that's being built for you right now. You may not see it right now. It may seem like, Angie, I don't know what you're talking about, because things are definitely not moving, but just, you got to just trust in the unseen. Trust that when nothing is happening in the physical, there's a lot happening in the spiritual. Okay. You just have to surrender to it and trust in the unfolding of it. And if you are ready to, you know, ground yourself and clear the chaos and see where the leaks are or blind spots are in your business, I highly suggest you go ahead and book a brand business audit. It's one of my favorite things. It's so much fun. Because as a projector, my human design is a projector, and I'm just able to see the grand scheme of things. Like, that's just a gift that I have, where I can just like zoom out, and I can see how like certain pieces connect, or how certain pieces are not connecting. book a session down below in the links below in the show notes. Um, and if you do know that you struggle with procrastination, with self sabotage, or getting yourself out of the negative loop, then you'll definitely want to join the waitlist for my membership down below. Because it's going to be the tools that you need to snap out of it and build the momentum that you need in your life and your business so you can manifest that dream business, so you can manifest that life, that freedom lifestyle that you truly desire. So you can sign up down below. And yeah, so like I said, for today's episode, just so we could wrap everything up here. So today's episode was all about not quitting in the chaos and how to navigate those negative emotions, those negative feelings, those negative thoughts as an entrepreneur, because it's not talked about enough that it is normal to go through those moments. And that is not a sign for you to just quit. That's a sign that the breakthrough is just around the corner. So keep going. And the three things that I do to help me shift the negative emotions into a positive or neutral state is one, the Rich Queen Moves daily planner. Two is movement. And then three is a belief audit, challenging your own beliefs. So definitely let me know in the comments below what resonated with you. If this was super helpful, like I would love to know what you guys think. Definitely helps me to make these episodes better for you guys. I'm always improving and, you know, going where life takes me. So I'm super excited. Um, I was happy to really share a little bit of what's been going on in my life as well. So I hope that that story has inspired you to keep going and to just take it one day at a time and that you're not alone. So definitely go ahead and subscribe to my channel, share it on your Instagram page. I would love that. Or even just shoot me a DM, whichever way. Any feedback is great feedback. And I'll see you on the next one.